this is Christian. In this video, I'm going to talk about constants and static data in PHP. So PHP is one of some languages that allows you to code both procedural and object-oriented paradigm together, like Python and JavaScript and TypeScript and so on. And some languages, those which are full-fledged object-oriented programming languages like Java or C#, does not allow you to do that, right? So let's talk about constants. This is kind of very tricky in PHP. So you just have to, I guess, follow the rules, right? So constants can be declared in two ways. You have seen this before. You have the word define, and then inside of define takes two parameters. The first is the variable name, and by convention, you always use the capital letters, right? So I can say here pi, and the value for pi would be 3.14, for example, right? So that's a constant. You can also declare a constant using the word const followed by the variable name and set that to a variable. Okay, so both of those are constants. And of course, you can access them and print them out just like a regular variable. And notice that constants cannot have a dollar sign in front. Okay, if you do that, that's incorrect. Right, so you cannot have a dollar sign. And all other variables must have a dollar sign. So that's just the rule in PHP. Okay, so you can, echo them out. I can echo or, dump them out. Just dump easier. If I dump pi, I should get 3.14. If I dump state, I get wi. Right, so I save that, go to my terminal, and let's go to the demo folder and run the constants. Ooh, kind of long. I should make it short. Okay, so you can see that I can print them out just like that. Right? So constants and like that. So static data is similar, except we use the keyword static, and I could put here. However, static is like a regular variable, so that means you must have the dollar sign, just like a variable. And so you have something like, age is 12 or 1, right? That's a constant. I mean, it's static data. Again, you can print it out just by using its variable, just like that. Very simple. And if I run it, you see the data printed here, right? So this is in the global space here. Is not inside a class, so you're able to do that. Now, if you are going to put this inside a class, that is something you want to watch out for. Okay, so now let's say I'm gonna create a class here. Call it class. Just put demo here. Okay, and then I'm going to move both of these constants inside the class. Also move my static inside the class. Okay, you see some errors already, right? It's yelling at me. Okay, so you see that I cannot use the define inside the class. This is only in the and using in the procedural method. Okay, you cannot define that in here. I don't remember if a different version will let you do it. As far as I know, I never used it. You can't use it. The const you can use both outside the class or inside the class. So this one here only use outside. So typically you see that quite a lot, and when you see constants have been defined outside of that. Okay, so now inside the class I had created a constant and a static. Okay, so let me just kind of clean this up. So to access those data, because constants are data that you never change, and static data are static data that does not belong to any particular object. You can access this data by any object, right? And just going through the class. So therefore, they can treat it kind of similar way. So if you want to access those data, you have to usually let me create another variable here, which is a non-constant. Say have a public data call data is Apple again. Okay, so this is a regular data field, and these are constant and static. So to access this data, I have to go through an object. So I can do something like DA is new demo. I instantiate my object. So now to access my letter or data, I have to say var dump A and then the arrow called data. Okay. And notice you saw what I did earlier. If I do A and then the arrow, right, you see that only access Apple the data. It does not show the state and the age. Right. So usually you have a lot of data. You see those in all your data, any functions. Any functions that are not declared as static, you will see you will see in here. Okay, so what that means is I cannot access these two data here through the object like this. Okay, you have to use what's called a paracolon like this. Okay, as you can see, once I do a paracolon, you see those two are visible, but data is not. So it's the opposite. This operator here is called a resolution scope operator, or actually, yeah, it's I don't remember what the name is. I think it's scope resolution. I'm sorry, it's a scope resolution operator, and it's used to access static and constant data in the class. Okay, so to print this out, I have to go through the A object and then either the age. As you can see, I'm accessing a static. I have to use the exact variable name here with the dollar sign. Whereas if you're using the object way, you notice you don't include the dollar sign here, right? So it's gonna be tricky, so be careful with that. And same thing with state. I can do a state just going through here and access state. Okay, so now if I go into the terminal and run it, I should get the same data as before. I can see Apple and 1 and 2 as for WI. Okay, so you can access through the object, or you can access directly through the name of the class, which is called demo. So you don't have to instantiate any object. I can call it demo and then colon state, and that should also work. So if I go again, you see that I'm able to access Wisconsin just like that. Right, so that's really important to understand that. However, inside here, I notice I can use public and private. You cannot put that any modifier in the constant. I cannot put like private like that. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say you can't. Depends on what version you are using. Okay, what version you're using. I think PHP 7.1 or later maybe let you if you are below 7.1, it won't let you do it. I'm not sure. Yeah, use 7.1. If I go to 7.0, okay, if I apply, and yeah, you see that I cannot use that, right? So if it mouse over that, it says the class constant visibility must be used only 7.1 only. So that means I cannot use that, okay? So usually constant are just like that. Static, yeah, that's fine. Static, I can make it private or public, and that's no problem, right? Except once I do that, I cannot access directly here. Okay, so let's just say you make it default like that. All right, so I've accessed these two data, these three types of data in this fashion. Non-static and non-constant data must be accessed through an object. In other words, if I try to access the data directly through the demo, it won't work. If I try to do something like that, okay, that should throw an error. Okay, as you can see, you cannot access that data because this is only for static and constant data. Or if I don't instantiate, if I try to do like this, right, it won't work because again, this is not an object. Okay, so there's some rules you just have to go by and understand as you go. Now, the next thing is inside the class. How do you access this data? Okay, so let's just say I have a function called show, and then inside the function, I want to print this out or modify them. So usually in the class, you use this keyword, right? This keyword let me do this. Let me actually call it update. Okay, keyword this equals data, and I change that to pair. Okay, and then if you want to change, well, constant you can't change, it's already that. But if you want to have another variable, say, or if you want to echo out state, so you can't do this equal arrow state. Okay, you can't do that. Even though it doesn't give an error, I should not be able to do it. And if I also try to do the same thing with the state, the age, okay, those should not work. And let me turn this off, and I'm going to go and invoke the update. So a update. Okay, so now if I go to my terminal, I run it, and you see a bunch of errors. Okay, it says, yeah, age is not static. I'm trying to access like a non-static, but it's static data, so you can't do it this way. Okay, the state, it's the same thing. It's a constant, so you cannot do it this way. So again, you have to use the scope resolution operator, but you cannot use it like this either. You cannot do that because the keyword this here applies to an object. Okay, and we object, which is you need to instantiate an object to get the data. This is only used to access data that are non-static and non-constant, like these data in functions. Okay, so that means you have to change this to a new keyword called self. Now, self, you might have seen this before in Python, right? So this self here refers to the class called demo. So you access it directly like that. And notice earlier down here I have like a demo : state. So this is the same thing. So that means this is also the same thing. I have to do self and then : age. Okay, so you can do that. And because self refers to the class, I can also reference directly using the class name. Right? So either the self or the class name. And so now if I go to my terminal and I run that again, have an error for the age. Oh yeah, I'm missing the dollar sign. Told you, it's very tricky, right? I have to put the actual variable name. So you can see that I'm able to print. I did not print this out, but I did print the state, which is WI. You see here, I did not put any line break, so you don't see it, but and the age is 1, so you can see 1 here. Okay, so I guess a question you might ask is, what is the difference between self and demo? Which one do you use? Which one should you use? Okay, well, I would recommend the self. Why? Well, because what if I change this name to, demo 1, right? If you do that now, this won't work anymore because if I do my demo 1 here, if I save and run, you see that in my code, there's no class called demo, right? Demo is not found because I changed it. So therefore, self will always refers to whatever this class is. It doesn't care what the class is. It knows that it always referred to this class. And so it's very safe to do this way. So your code doesn't break. Okay. It's also true when you have inheritance and access another class. So for example, if I have another class here, I call it class B, and this class, this class here extends the demo class. So it's the demo 1 class, okay? It's a child class. If you want to print this function, get this function from here, I can have a function here, say function fx. Then inside here, I want to access the parent function called update. From here, I could use the keyword parent, okay, similar to you would use super in Java or Python, and also JavaScript. So parent and then : again, this scope resolution operator, the name of the function. And notice it doesn't matter if this function is a static or not, right? I can access it because I'm going through the parent, which is again this parent here. So same thing, I can do that, or I can do it using the name of the class name. Either way, and the same rules I just told you apply. So now if I go down here and say I have a class called, if I change that to B instead, right? So now I'm calling the update, or it doesn't access the update from here, or I can call its FFX from here. So let's try the FFX. Okay, I should still be able to get the same data out. I get it twice this time. So let's go back down here. So you see that I got it twice. This is the first one from here to here, and then the second update is from here to here. I did not put again that line break, so you can see it's kind of ugly here. Okay, so the same rules. Why when do you use parent or when you use the demo? Well, again, I will prefer the word parent. Why? Well, just because, right? If you change this again back to demo, so you go back to the same problem. If I change that to demo, and then now everywhere else I have to change demo to demo. If I run now, I'm gonna get an error. Okay, see, this is demo one is not found. So parent is the way to go. Okay, so I kind of touched like two topics here all at once. The scope resolution operator is needed to access a superclass data. That means I can also access the data up here, right, using the parent. I didn't do that, but as you can type the word parent, you see that all those are visible. The function and those two constant and static data are all visible. I can use to access like that. Also access its own data in the class if they are static or constant using the scope operator. Right. So again, just remember that constants can be declared inside the function, in the class using the word const only, but outside of that, I can use both outside. Now, another thing is that since this is not a class variable, this is in the class here, I think you cannot access this data from outside. I don't remember. Let's see. Let's say I'm going to go and say, temp is pi. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I should be able to. Constant. Yeah. This is constant everywhere. So maybe that's fine. Let me also echo temp. I think functions you probably can't, but let's go one more time before we close this video. Yeah, I'm able to do that. That's fine. I know that if it's a function, it's not part of that. You cannot call it directly or something. But I don't remember. I forget what it is. It's just there's some restrictions that you can or cannot call. But anyways, so just remember the rules of constants and static data and the scope resolution operator. All right. So I hope this is not too confusing. If you run into any issues or trouble, just again shoot me email. Let me know. Thank you.